Hello, everyone. How are you guys tonight? It's good to see all of you. Hey, Polygraph. Welcome. Hey, Mary. Hey, Sierra. Hey, Cindy Delafuente. Hey, John. Good to see you. How are you guys? Hey, Jennifer. How are you? Hey, Pigeon. How are you? Hi, Tech Death. Hey, guys. Jennifer's dropping my new merchandise link in the chat for you. I do have a store on Spring, and I will be getting that added this week to my website as well. So be sure and check out the merchandise for Behind the Crime Door. It's just another way for you guys to support the channel if you feel free to do so. I hope everybody's doing well. I have a lot to cover tonight. And the first thing, sorry, it was hair washing day, and my hair is so fly away when I wash my hair. It just, that first couple of days, it just gets in my mouth. It's crazy. It drives me nuts. Hey, CJK, how are you? Good to have you with us always. Hey, Double Rainbows. Thank you. I think it's the lighting because I really haven't changed my hair color at all. I just think it must be the lighting in here. Thank you. You're kind. It's just good to have you. It's good to have all of you guys here. Hey, Matt. Good to see you. Good to have all of my moderators here and to see all of my members and just to be able to chat with you guys. Oh, no, Jennifer. Did they find the 4-year-old? Oh my goodness. That is scary. Hey, Savannah. Oh, good. At least you found them. Yes, JW28, and I'm going to talk about it tonight. I did listen to it. Oh, it's so sad. You got to watch them like a hawk, and especially when you're around the ocean. Things can happen so quickly, so suddenly. And when you're in large crowds like that, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. Thank God, Jennifer, that you were there to help out and help the mom. So glad that you were able to do that. And that you're here tonight. You know, you're on vacation and you're here with me. You're so special. Hey, Digital. Good to have you here. So, tonight we're going to talk about the disparity between the Flora fire and the Delphi murder case. I want to preface this by saying that I'm going to cover this, and I think it's important that I do. I do not want anyone to go running off saying that I am bad mouthing the Delphi murder case and how it's been handled and the amount of publicity that it has garnered, because that's not what I'm doing. I do believe that what the girls have gotten, they should have gotten. What I'm saying is that what's happened in Flora is very, very sad. And when you take a look at the difference and the differences, it really smacks you in the face, so to speak. And Meow Zedong put out a really good video on this. So I will be linking to that here in a minute. But she has done some tremendous work, and I can't say enough about her. I have come to know her working on these cases together and collaborating with her and Unsolved. She has a passion like no other for these 4 little girls. And the goodness that's inside of her, no one should question. She's doing an amazing job, and she's exhausted trying to run the subreddit and keeping the information out there and growing the narrative so that people are paying attention and getting eyes on this has been daunting. It's really hard for her. Hey, Michelle, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Melodramatic Monday, so good to have you. She's a very kind soul. And she is, hey, Rose Paradise, good to have you. She's really doing a bang up job. And it's just been really hard. And I know that I told her, you know, it's okay to take a break now and then for our own mental health. We have to kind of step away a little bit sometimes. And I just want everybody to, you know, send her good vibes. Sorry, my nose is itching like crazy. Send her good vibes and lots of love, because Meow's really, really working hard. Lots and lots of work is going into this. Lots of contacts behind the scenes that we're all trying to make. to get eyes on this case. So, yeah, please check out the merch, you guys. I'm really excited about it. I designed it myself. So, I'm not a fashion person. I'm not, whatever, but it's no big deal. I just thought that it was a way for me to give you guys another way to support the channel and show off, that you're a member here or that you like here or whatever. Um, I just thought that it was a great way for me to give you guys something that you could have tangible for the channel. Now, with that being said, Mary, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it. I'd love to see a photo when you get it. It would be cool. You can email that to me. I'd love it. So there's a couple of things that we're going to dive into here. I'm going to do my missing person corner, as I always do. And I'm going to do that, I think, first. I did not know about this case until today. Jennifer sent me a link to this young woman, and I want to definitely talk about her. So just a moment. It's probably a case, if they don't find her soon, that we're going to end up, people are going to start following on social media. I'm pretty sure. It seems like it's getting some traction already. Yeah, it's not looking good at all. And I feel for this family so badly. So, if you guys haven't heard, a few days ago, I think it's been 3 now, a 16-year-old girl named Kiely Rodni went missing early Saturday morning, and she was last seen at a large campground party with other teenagers and young adults. And this was in the Northern California, Sierra Nevada foothills. Hey, Michelle, thank you so much for your super sticker. I so appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, that is so nice of you. Truly. I really do appreciate it. So, dozens of law enforcement personnel and at least 3 aircraft and numerous volunteers have combed through the Northern California, Sierra Nevada foothills searching for Kiely. Kiely remains missing 3 days after she went to a party at a Prosser family campground just north of Truckee, California. And authorities continue to search for her and her vehicle, which is a 2013 silver Honda CRV. And it has the license plate number of 8YUR127, which also hasn't been seen since she disappeared around 12:30 a.m. on Saturday. Authorities said her phone has not been in service since then either. Placer County Sheriff's Office spokeswoman Angela Musalam on Monday confirmed the agency is investigating the possibility of an abduction. But she wrote in an emailed response that this distinction has been made only because authorities have not been able to locate her vehicle. Numerous resources and agencies have assisted, including investigators and search and rescue specialists from across the region. The sheriff's office said in an update posted to social media on Tuesday morning. Law enforcement personnel spanning local sheriff's offices, the Truckee Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security dedicated close to 1,500 combined search hours from Saturday through early Tuesday afternoon. And Sergeant Dennis Hack of the Nevada County Sheriff's Office said during a news conference on Tuesday afternoon that more than 100 volunteers have also assisted in the effort, searching on foot, on motorcycles, UTVs, and also they're using canines. They're also searching on the water using boats. It's just so sad. At least 3 helicopters, one each from the Placer County Sheriff's Office, the California Highway Patrol, and Washoe County Sheriff's Office in Nevada, have also taken part in the search. Aerial searches continued Tuesday, and Placer Sheriff's officials commented about that early this afternoon. And Detective Sergeant Scott Alford of the Placer County Sheriff's Office said in a Tuesday news briefing that was held at the Truckee Donner Recreation and Park District Center and live streamlined online that the last signal from Kiely's phone came at 12:33 a.m. on Saturday. Alford said authorities found video showing Kiely at a store prior to the party around 6 p.m. on Friday night. And he said that while this finding did not provide any new information about her whereabouts, it helped confirm a timeline that they already had. And a tip line for information about Kiely's whereabouts has been set up at 530-581-6320. Sheriff's officials initially said more than 100 teens and young adults were at Friday night's party at the Prosser family campground. Musalam on Tuesday upped that estimate to somewhere between 200 and 300 people. And she called on anyone who was at that party who may have any information about Kiely to contact that tip line, and that they were urging and pleading with community to please come forward. And they said that they would keep them anonymous. The sheriff's office, sorry, my computer's running slow. The sheriff's office officials are investigating Kiely's disappearance as a possible abduction. So no Amber Alert has been issued yet as of Tuesday morning. And the reason being is Amber plans require law enforcement to confirm that an abduction prior to issuing it has happened. And the National Alert Broadcast System's website explains to allow activations in the absence of significant information that an abduction has occurred could lead to abuse of the system and ultimately weaken its effectiveness. And at the same time, each case must be appraised on its own merits and a judgment call made quickly. Hey, Bridget. Hey, Just Pam. How are you guys? Good to see you. They will only do the Amber Alert once an abduction has been confirmed. But they have issued an endangered missing advisory alert for her. The alert covers Alpine, Amador, El Dorado, Nevada, Placer, Plumas, Sacramento, and Sierra counties in California. And the agency said anyone who sees her should call 911. And just one second, because I'm going to put up her missing person poster, I think. Hold on, just give me a minute. Let me see. Where is it? Oh, it's so hard. There it is. Hold on. Well, at least this is a picture of her. We'll get a picture of her up here anyway. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Just give me a minute here. So here's a picture of Kiely. There's a $50,000 reward offered. And there have been tons and tons of searches. Sammy Smith, who's 18 years old and a close friend of Kiely's, has been organizing the community search parties in the Prosser family campground area and around Truckee. And she says that that Prosser has been exhaustingly searched, both on the ground and in the Prosser Creek Reservoir nearby. She also said that the Rodni family is offering the $50,000 reward for any information that will lead to Kiely's return. Smith says she was the last person to speak with Kiely, who's age 16, before she went missing sometime early Saturday morning. Smith said Kiely had been planning to spend the night at the campground, according to the Associated Press. And I know that she wasn't in the right mindset or state to drive, and if she were to have driven, she wouldn't have made it far, Smith told KOVR TV. So my concern is that somebody might have offered to drive her home and then didn't take her home. And Smith has been with gathering members of the community at the Truckee Donner Community Recreation Center to organize search parties. And she said that she had 100 to 200 participants on Monday morning. Smith and the Rodni family have set up a website with information on Kiely's disappearance and more information on how to contact authorities. The mother of missing Truckee teenager Kiely Rodni pleaded for information on her daughter, who hasn't been seen since the party on Friday night at Prosser Family Campground. Placer County investigators say they are treating this case as an abduction, and she was attending a farewell party with hundreds of other young people at the campground 35 miles west of Reno. We just want her home. We are just so scared, Lindsay Rodni Neiman said on a social media post shared by the Placer County Sheriff's Office. Kiely, we love you. Kiely, if you can see this, please just come home, her mother said. I want nothing more than to hug you. Placer Sheriff spokesman Angela Musalam said Kiely told friends at the party that she wanted to go home around midnight. Shortly thereafter, her phone went offline. The sheriff's office has been coordinating ground and aerial searches since Saturday, hoping to locate her. Kiely's vehicle, a 2013 Honda CVA with California plate 8YUR127, is also missing. And so since the car is missing, it's protocol to assume and treat the case as an abduction. We know that out of the 200 to 300 people that were at the party, somebody has to know something. She emphasized that callers who use the tip line can remain anonymous. We are not interested in arresting anybody for any underage drinking or illicit drug consumption that may have happened at this party. Our priority is locating Kiely. Kiely is described as 5'7", 115 pounds, with blonde hair and hazel eyes. She was last seen wearing green Dickies pants and a black tank top. She has numerous piercings and jewelry, including a nose ring. So we will follow her story here on this channel to see what happens. And my prayers go out to her family and to her friends that she is found and safe. This is so sad. I cannot get over how her family and friends must be feeling. But that was some huge party that she was at, 200 to 300 people attended. So yeah, that's a lot. Hey, Danger Dave, how are you? I like that you listen to me in the car. I think that's wonderful. um, but yeah, we will keep up on her case here, and follow along to see what happens there. And like I said, I mean, she's in an area, a part of California that has lots of woods and forest, and anything is possible here. And if she was drinking and possibly, doing drugs or whatever might have happened at the party. So, her best friend said she was in no frame of mind or condition to be driving. Um, Anything is possible. She could have had an accident. She could have run off the road, and down an embankment or something. So let's uh, let's hope that she's found and um, found quickly. It's just so sad. So sad. Oh, Danger Dave, don't you dare try to type and drive. You just listen. So, and I appreciate you. I'm glad that you love listening. I really I appreciate that very much. So I'm trying to get my mind around where I want to go next because there's so much to talk about. Just so much. I've been watching and listening to a lot of podcasts the last few days. I've been listening to some that I don't normally listen to, just to get an idea of what other people are talking about regarding the cases. I'm sure that all of you know that the Murder Sheet dropped a new episode this morning, and I did listen to it. It's about 45 minutes long, I think. And they pretty much talk about where they think the case is standing right now based on their inside law enforcement source, whoever that is, that has given them this inside information regarding the Kleins. And I highly suggest that you guys listen to it, just to get your own take. I'm going to talk to you about what they said, but I always think that it's important that we listen for ourselves, because no matter what I hear or what I think I may have gotten from it, everyone else is going to get something different. And that is the way it is. So I'm sorry, I was just looking at what you guys were talking about in the chat. So one of the things about this, what the Murder Sheet was talking about, was, first of all, they talked about a lot of the early stuff that happened in the early days of Delphi, and how we all know what that is. We all know that about the Kleins, and where that we've talked about that now for the past 4 or 5 months. Probably 6 at least on this channel. Since the HLN special came out, where Barbara McDonald interviewed Kagan on TV from jail, and then we had the Murder Sheet released the actual transcript from law enforcement's interrogation of Kagan back in 2017. Excuse me, back in 2020, in August, when they arrested him. And once we saw those things, once we saw his behavior and how he acted in the Barbara McDonald interview, and then we read through the transcript, we saw so many different things happening there. It was like law enforcement was playing a game of cat and mouse with Kagan. They knew things already, and they were asking Kagan questions in a way that made it appear as if they didn't know the answer. And Kagan would answer the question and over again, sometimes stuttering and stumbling. And Dave Vito would be like, we already know the answer to this question. We already know that you did this. We already know that you had this. And then he would get really upset, and he would be like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? And so there was a lot of that going on in that interrogation with him. I wish that True Crime Maria was here, because she did an absolute, she's one of my moderators. She did an absolute bang up job on covering the Klein's trip to Vegas. And if you haven't ventured out to find her channel yet, please look up True Crime Maria and watch her videos on the Kleins and Vegas, because it really is eye-opening with what she found out. She found out a lot of really good information. And one of the things that she and I did together when we were first looking into the Kleins was we hurried up and got on social media and started looking at Facebook. And we both realized really quickly that Kagan and his dad's Facebooks didn't make a whole lot of sense, because there was a lot of entries that were backdated. There were entries made to appear as if they and he were living and visiting Vegas. And law enforcement tells him in that interrogation that they knew for a fact that it was a lie that they were in Vegas during the time of the murders of Abby and Libby. So, hey, Unsolved, so good to have you here. Thank you for being here. Love you, love you. But so they knew that. They told him that everything that was out there on Facebook, that they were trying to make it seem like Kagan was in Vegas and was living in Vegas at the time that Abby and Libby were murdered, they knew that was a lie. And so if you remember way back in the beginning of the Delphi case, Kim Riley talks, and I would have to go find it. It's on my subreddit. If you get into my my wiki page of my subreddit, it tells you, I have a lot there, but I have a lot of the interviews and a lot of that kind of stuff from early in the early days. And I have the interview where Kim Riley talks about the fact that they had issues with people lying to them or telling them mistruths in the early days of the investigation. And he's talked about multiple. He didn't talk about just one or two people. He said multiple. And there was even an article about it in the Carroll County Comment that Jerry Holman alluded to as well. So right off the bat there, the murder sheet deduces that the Kleins were lying and they were misleading law enforcement in the very beginning. And if you remember, they didn't know that. They hadn't dove into social media. They hadn't looked at their Facebook accounts. They did not do that in the beginning. And they didn't realize that what they were telling them of their story about him being in Vegas was true. They thought it was true. They didn't, I guess, feel he had any reason to lie about it. And so they didn't check it out. Hey, Gonzo, how are you, my dear? I miss you. I'm glad you're staying busy. I love seeing all the fun stuff you're doing. So law enforcement basically believed what they were telling them and believed the lie, didn't check it out then, and were misled. And the murder sheet talks about that in their drop today that they did, about how they were misled by the Kleins and that nobody picked up on it. Because if you remember, the FBI agent, after they did their raid on them, the FBI agent came out and said, we do not believe that these two people are involved in any way in the Delphi murders. Now, he didn't say anything like, you know, we need to look further. We may want to, you know, investigate a little bit more. He just said that just blatantly in the very beginning before they really had a chance to really look at anything with these two. And that was kind of odd to me when I heard it, because I knew they didn't have time to really scrutinize the digital evidence on the devices. That takes time, and sometimes lots of time. And as we know in this case, it did. So we know that there was a lot of questions put to them about things that they were doing while they were in Vegas. After they left Delphi quickly, they left Delphi very suddenly after the murders, and they went to Vegas. And while they were there on this trip, there was a lot of suspicious activity happening. And they were making all kinds of odd or peculiar searches about the Delphi murders. For normal people, or for people that wouldn't be being suspected, or persons of interest or things like that, most people, it would just be kind of a normal thing maybe to look up some of the stuff that they were looking up. But I don't think so, in my opinion, because they were looking up things like the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting stuff about victims. They were looking up how long DNA remains on a body. They were looking up all kinds of things about Bridge Guy's voice, because they had dropped the photo of Bridge Guy, and the down the hill. They had already let that out. And so they were listening to that over and over and over again. At least that's what law enforcement tells him. And so that was going on, and so they led them down this path, whatever. And for 2 years, law enforcement was not looking in the right direction. And we know that because Doug Carter tells us that in April of 2019 at the press conference, when he talks about the new direction. You never thought we would go down this way, or that we would change investigative patterns, whatever. And it's because they realized they had been lied to. And they realized that because the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was called in by the ISP to do a peer-to-peer review of this case in December of 2018. And when the Georgia Bureau of Investigation came in and looked over everything, it was their investigator that found out about the Facebook stuff. and said, whoa, what's going on here? There's a pattern here of them dating posts and trying to make it look like they were doing things that they weren't. Now, I don't know if they just weren't smart enough to realize that those dates appear and that you can tell when a Facebook post is made. I don't know, but it was really interesting. So the murder sheet said that happened and that they decided in that press conference to announce the fact that they had made a mistake. And Doug Carter said that we were onto something early on and then were sidetracked by someone or somebody. You can assume if you want the Kleins, or maybe it was someone else. We don't know. But the murder sheet is claiming that. And, you know, Doug Carter has said a lot of things over 5 years. We've all talked about that. He said things and he's contradicted himself. He's stepped on himself in numerous different ways and functions of that, talking and speaking. And I'm going to be the first one to say, when you are in front of a camera, even in this scenario, and you're sitting here talking and trying to cover whatever, and you're trying to tell a story, it's easy sometimes to misspeak. And I don't want to come down hard on them for that, but I do know that law enforcement are scripted, and nothing that they say when they go before cameras or do interviews, nothing has not been vetted. And in this case, it would be, I would assume, the task force, the FBI, and whoever else, is working on the case. They would sit down, but prior to, and say, okay, this is what you're supposed to say. This is what you're going to cover. Do not go here. Don't answer questions about this. And don't, reveal anything case specific, because it could hurt us, which they're law enforcement. So they already know that. They know they don't want to do that. But it's easy sometimes to get kind of excited. And if you go back and look at the press conferences, you can see that. Dave Burston was wanting to talk a lot in that press conference. Dave Burston was really trying to give us more information than Holman, the FBI, and a lot of others didn't want us to have. And all you have to do is watch the body language on that stage that day. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I can't remember if it's R&M's channel or if it's on Meow Zedong, but one of their videos, they have video, which I had never seen before, of all the guys on the stage talking before the actual press conference starts. So it's an open mic, and they're all talking about just stuff. And I think that's pretty interesting to watch as well. So it just gives you a little bit more in-depth of who these guys are and how they interact with each other. I do too, Bridget. I liked him too. I think he really wanted to talk more about things they knew, and was trying to step and tread lightly. But yeah, it was interesting. So basically what the murder sheet tells us is that Doug Carter, on July the 20th, he took a helicopter ride from Indianapolis to Gary, Indiana. He was going to meet with the mayor there, and they were going to talk about crime in Gary because it's really, really bad. And Gary has been a place of high crime since the industry there kind of just fell off, and people lost their jobs, And it's just become a really bedridden place for crime. And I guess they're trying to figure out how to fix that. So he went there and they took him by helicopter, and he talks about it. He says that it was an amazing time of his life to be able to do that, to be able to ride in a helicopter. Well, he didn't just go to Gary that day. According to the murder sheet, he took a detour to Peru, Indiana, in Miami County. And we all know in Peru, Indiana, that is where Kagan is being held. And while they were en route, the murder sheet said that the helicopter, and they found this out because they went through the flight logs, is how they found all this information. But the helicopter came down really low and hovered over the transmission plant. And it wasn't the one in Kokomo that Tony worked at. It was the one in Tipton. And we all know that Tony works for Stellantis and that he worked at the Kokomo plant. But they hovered for a little bit over the Tipton transmission plant. So I thought that was interesting. Hey, Sleuth, how are you? Good to see you. And so anyway, he goes for this joint press conference up in Gary. He ends up doing a side trip to Peru, Indiana, and he gets out in Peru and actually takes a sit down to watch a PowerPoint on why the Kleins are involved in the Delphi murders. It was a 1 hour long PowerPoint, according to the murder sheet, that Doug Carter watched on why the Kleins are involved in the Delphi murders. Doug Carter was very vocal at this meeting, according to the source the murder sheet claims to have in law enforcement, and said that it is absolutely crucial that Kagan Klein go to trial for his CSAM charges and not plead out. And they talked about the fact that Anthony Schatz spoke to Libby the day that the girls were murdered. And Kagan's alibi is that, he had friends who was taking his phone when he would fall asleep and stuff, and they were the ones responsible for CSAM. Now, we know that that's not true, and we also know that in his interrogation in the beginning, he finally tells Dave Vito that, yes, he spoke to a woman police officer at his home when they did the raid, and they set him down and talked to him at length about the CSAM, what had been found, what he was viewing, what he was downloading. And some of it was extremely disturbing because there were such young children involved. And he denied that. He told her that he didn't know anything about that. He knew he had a problem, but it wasn't with young kids, wasn't with small kids. So, 1 minute he's saying his friends are the culprits, and the next minute he's actually admitting to him having this problem. Kagan, his trial has been set for January of 2023. I believe they've set it for 8 days. I think it's January 18th is when the trial is supposed to take place. Again, He has asked for a continuance every single time he has been in court, whether it be for his pretrial hearing stuff or whether it's been a court date to start the trial. So I'm not holding my breath on what's going to happen in January. I also watched and I highly, if you guys are following Delphi, and really are following Delphi extensively, I highly suggest that you go out and watch it's on YouTube, the debate between the new independent candidate from Lafayette and Tony Liggett. I watched it all this morning. And wow, did I get an eye-opener there. Hey, Jennifer, thank you so much for your super sticker. So kind of you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for showing support for the channel. But yeah, Tony Liggett's a piece of work. And I can see why people are saying that he's just a good old boy and that he was handpicked by Tobe and those that want a certain someone in office of sheriff, so that the status quo is the status quo, so to speak. And for which one, Bridget? What link? For which one? For the debate? Is that the one you want to see? Hold on a second. I think it's on here. I can't remember. Home. Give me just a second while I look it up. R&M. It's on R&M's website, or I'm sorry, YouTube channel, and it is called The Contender. Hold on a second. And here is the link. So, the murder sheet also says that Kagan might be looking at getting a new attorney. He's currently using the same attorney that Ron Logan used. Same attorney. They also talked about Paul Holes. And Paul Holes is also talked about during the sheriff's they call it the sheriff showdown, but it's the debate between the sheriff candidates. And somebody in the audience asked the question that they'd heard that Paul Holes was offered to come in and help the Delphi murder investigation back in 2019. And he told Oxygen Television this at the time. It was right after they had solved the California case of the East Side rapist, or James D'Angelo. I can't think of the other name for him right now. The East Area rapist is all that comes up. But anyway, somebody from the investigation in Delphi reached out to him right after they made that arrest in that case and talked to him about Delphi. And he told them that they had a tough investigation ahead of them. Now, that's what Paul Holes told them in 2019. Thank you. The Golden State Killer just kind of went right out of my head. See, things happen. And the murder sheet brought up the fact that in March, which it was a big buzz all over social media, there was a picture that appeared. I know it was on Reddit. I think it was on YouTube even, that Paul Holes was in Delphi and was on the bridge. And there were pictures of him. And he really wanted to help on this case and was told by ISP that at this time there was nothing that anyone else could do to help at this point. And they knew that he had been in contact with them in 2018 about the murder. So the murder sheet talks about this, and the two guys running for sheriff talk about this, and whether or not they would bring in Paul Holes to the case. And the new guy said he would. He definitely would do whatever it takes. He said he had a conversation with Mike Patty and told him that he will not use this case to run on a platform. He's not going to do that. But he did talk about the questions that were put to him, which I thought was a really kind of stand-up thing for this guy to do, because it would be real easy to run on the fact and kind of throw law enforcement under the bus in Carroll County and say that, you know, it's been 5.5 years. You don't have an arrest. It's time for the new guy to take over. And it can't be somebody that's already been investigating or knows about the investigation. And Tony Liggett knows. And he does know. He knows a lot of different things about the case. And so you guys watch and you tell me how you feel about these two guys. They couldn't be different to me, more different than night and day. And one of the things that I found out about it was that the independent running is a detective from Lafayette. Lots and lots of experience. He talked about training. He talked about the need for training. He talked about resources that they have available to them that wouldn't cost money, that needs to be utilized. He talked about recruitment. In fact, they were talking about how they need to recruit more officers. And, you know, Tony Liggett's like, well, we're only a force of 13. And, you know, where's the money going to come from for this? And somebody stood up in the audience and says, well, what about hiring women? Where do you stand on that? Which I thought was really fabulous, because Tony Liggett basically stumbled over everything on that question and said, well, we used to have a woman and we used to have a woman doing this or whatever. And the new guy was like, I would be all about hiring females if they qualify for the job, because we have some really good female officers in Lafayette. And all I was thinking about at the time when he was talking about that was Stephanie. I mean, we all know that she was an amazing ISP officer and was doing wonderful things for that department. So that kind of hit on me when they said that. But that was part of what it was. And, you know, basically, Dave Vito tells Kagan, per the murder sheet, and this is true, we can verify that because it's in the transcripts, but he basically tells him, you lied to law enforcement 3 years ago and you're lying to us now. And that was basically what he said. You know, hey, Teresa, so good to see you. So you know, Doug Carter started in 1984 as a state trooper. So he's been doing this job for a long, long time. And he was also the Hamilton County Sheriff for 2 terms before he became the superintendent of ISP in Indiana. And I know a lot can be said about him, and a lot has been said and probably will be continued to be said. But I do believe that this man does want to see these cases solved. But one of the things that bothers me is how he flaunted this sticky note around with the Flora 4 girls' names on it, and then said he added Abby and Libby, and that he has this at his office. He has one at his home, because when he wakes and goes to sleep at night, those 6 girls are who he thinks about. And I'm like, you know what, Doug? If that's honestly true, and for you, I hope it is. I know he's a very spiritual man and a faithful man. And if that's true, then you need to do more for Flora than what's happening. Bottom line. Flora is being investigated by the Indiana State Police. It is not being investigated by Carroll County. That came out in the debate. It was asked specifically of Tony Liggett if they were investigating Flora. The ISP is investigating Flora because 2 of Carroll County's officers were injured in the fire. So it's kind of nice to know a little bit that they're not overseeing their own investigation, since there were some questionable things, obviously, to us that have been investigating this and looking into everything that happened that night of the fire. And so, they also talked about how the police definitely knew about Kagan early on, and they did not know that Kagan kept that iPhone 5C. They did not know that. They didn't know that. That was a complete surprise to law enforcement that he kept that phone. That's what the murder sheet's claiming. I don't think that's true, because I do believe he told them he didn't know where it was, because they asked him where his current phone was. He said he didn't know where it was. He had to find it. And they asked him to find it and turn it in, which is what he did after he deleted everything, which is where the obstruction of justice charges come from. But the murder sheet said he's looking at 45 years alone in prison just on the child exploitation charges alone. And those, I think, maybe are 8 or 9 charges, and he's got 30. So this guy is going to go away for a long time. And Doug Carter wants no plea deal. He wants him, he said it's imperative that he go to trial on the CSAM charges. So that, to me, was quite interesting. It sounds like the state has no ideas about working out a plea with him or anything else. And I think that that's telling for a number of reasons. And Bob Ramsey was the FBI agent that said that he did not believe that Kagan or Tony were involved in the Delphi homicides early on after the raid. He basically said, we in no way believe he is involved in the murder of these girls. And Kagan said over and over to investigators, he did not know that there were little kids on his phone. He had no idea that stuff was there. And they asked him what his father was going to think about him when he found out. And he said, well, how's he going to find out? And they were like, well, we told him. And he's like, what? And they're like, well, we told him. And he said, he's never going to talk to me again. And so they asked him about what his conversation was with his dad when he came home from the polygraph. And he said that his dad was crying. His dad was sitting in the living room crying. That was what he told investigators. So in 2018, this is some of the other stuff that the murder sheet talked about was Doug Carter was asked, has anyone been cleared in this case? And this was in 2018. And the people, Doug Carter's response was, the people we have looked at and talked to at this point have no involvement. And so what the murder sheet says, well, the Kleins misled them, that they were in Las Vegas, and that was simply not true. Several years later, they learned that the Kleins were not in Las Vegas, as they had claimed, as the investigators were going back over the information. In 2019, Doug Carter said, I really believe over time that we were onto something early on. Please be patient with us. We are just beginning. And I know I told somebody this today that I was chatting with, and I know it's hard to hear, but law enforcement made mistakes, and the first 2 years of this investigation were mistakes. They were on the wrong path. They were looking in the wrong direction, and they were not looking at in the right place for who committed these acts. Doug Carter admits that. So when he talked to us at that press conference in 2019, he basically admitted that and said, we are just at the beginning of our investigation. So it's only been 3 years, guys. I mean, it's been almost 4 now. But yeah. So I think it's enough to make you angry, but it also lets you understand why things might be moving as slowly as we feel they are. Because for 2 years they weren't getting anywhere. They weren't even on the right. They weren't in the right hemisphere. And in 2021, someone made the crucial error. This was said in 2021. Someone made the crucial error in believing the Kleins, and they led the investigation in the wrong direction. And that led to the Anthony Shots information coming out. And what I take from this is Delphi has a lot of information. They have accountability to the public for what they're doing. They need to be transparent in what they're doing, and they're not. They have a wealth of resources at their fingertips, and they have the ability to ask for help from outside sources who, in my opinion, wouldn't hurt to have Paul Holes help them. Why do they not want him to come in? And why would they say that they don't need anyone at this point? Is it because they do know who it is and they're this close to arresting them? If that's the case, then if they're this close, is it going to be another 6 years before that happens? Or what? You know, if they're this close, wouldn't another set of eyes help them? I just don't understand that. To me, that's so contradictory, and it's not logical. There's no logic involved in that at all. Something's wrong. Something is highly wrong. So that's basically about the murder sheet. Now we can talk about the differences and the disparities between the two cities, because Meow does a really, really good. Sorry, my kitty is jumping on my feet. So Meow does a really good video. Hold on a second. I want to get so I can send you to it. Just give me a minute. R&M did this one. This is such a good video. I highly suggest that you guys all watch this. There is no place for ego in murder investigations. Oh, he is on my website, Double Rainbows. He just ran out of the room. So when I went to get him off my feet, he just ran out of the room. But if he comes back in, sure. A lot of people here have seen him. But if you go to my website, there's a picture of him there. I have a tuxedo. He is black and white. So I just dropped the link of the video that's called The Delphi Murders, A Tale of Two Cities. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit because Savannah, I don't believe that at all about Paul Holes. He is not overrated. Paul Holes is a very, very good investigator and a very good cold case investigator. So anyway, thank you, Unsolved. He's my buddy. I love him. He's really a lot of fun, but sometimes he pesters me to death. So anyway, you've got Flora. The fire happens on November 21st of 2016. A little over a month before Christmas. And the fire happens. In November, they say it's arson right off the bat. And then they backtrack. And it isn't until January that they come out and finally deem it arson. When you look at the fire and the things that happened to these children, when you look at their autopsies and you look at what happened to them, there is no doubt in your mind that this fire is unusual and that it was set. So, you've got that going on. You've got a city and a community that tried to rally around the girls. There were a lot of interviews done of people who loved the 4 little girls, who talked about going to school with Kiana and how she was just always a bundle of joy, like fun. They just loved her. One of her best friends, he played basketball or soccer with her every day, every single day on the playground, I'm assuming. And he was so distraught over her passing that he cried all the way to school. He didn't want to go to school. Her best friend, who also had children, she talks about how it really hurt and hit her son really hard because their children played together. She had a 4-year-old daughter, so she was a little bit younger than Kiani, but she played with her, and she was very distraught. It's okay, Double Rainbows. I don't mind if you mention Ken. I really like him. The creators that I support that are on my channel, and you can see the ones that I support, I don't have a problem with you mentioning them in the chat. It's other ones that I don't want mentioned. So anyway, these interviews that were done with these children and residents who loved this family and loved these girls, it's hard to watch. It's hard to listen to their heartbreak. They started a collection at the Marathon Station in Flora where Galen worked. They loved her there. Her customers loved her. And they put up a jar to try to collect money for her. And when this happened, and she was so broken. You can just imagine, how do you even get up in the morning or get out of bed? I for one can't imagine. I've lost one child, and he was 4, and it nearly destroyed me. It nearly destroyed me. And I cannot imagine 4 at once. And in the manner in which they went. I just can't imagine that poor woman's pain. But anyway, you've got the ISP taking over the investigation. You have the head of the ISP making claims that the mother is not talking and the family is not giving them enough information. So immediately there is a narrative put out to the public that puts Galen in a bad light. And the public starts thinking things like, maybe she's involved. Maybe she did this to her children, which in my mind is ridiculous, because there's just no evidence at all that points to her. There's just not. When you're looking at this case, I think there's reasons that there's certain people that might want her to look guilty. But those first couple of months, not a whole lot was going on. There wasn't a lot of major stuff happening. $5,000 was put forth as a reward fund by the ISP, and the community decided that they were going to try and raise funds for the girls over time. And they did some fundraising. And one of the things that they did was they put out a cookbook. They sold cookbooks for the Flora girls. And, it sounds like a really great idea. I mean, it probably was. That they had this cookbook. And hold on a second, because I want to read you guys something once I get it to come up. So in the cookbook that went out that they tried to sell, God, where did you go? I just had you up. Where are you? Where are you? Hang on, guys. I apologize. Just when you think you got it and it disappears on you. There it is. So here we go. So this is what Galen wrote to her girls inside the opening of this cookbook that they sold in Flora. In loving memory of all my babies. Please bear with me if I cannot get through this without crying. I'm going to try. A mother's heart, Galen Rose. The most tragic moment in my life was losing all of my babies in a house fire. Never in a million years would a mother think she would have to bury all of her children. Even more horrifying is the fact I had to bury all of my beautiful babies at the same time. November 21st of 2016 is a day I will never forget. That day changed my life in a way no mother should ever have to experience. Being a mother of 4 beautiful girls was what I lived for. They had a great life ahead of them, and as their mother, I did my best to lead them down a great path. My only desire was to give them the best life. I worked every day to ensure my daughters had everything that they needed. They went to school, they made good grades, Kiana played basketball, and all the girls were cheerleaders. They were happy little girls whose smiles and energy could light up a room. Their energy and love kept me striving to give them the good life. Our life wasn't perfect by any means. We had our good days and bad days, but our good days definitely outweighed our bad ones. When the house on 103 East Columbia, Flora, Indiana caught on fire, the effect to my life was catastrophic. The sorrow and pain of losing my children takes a daily toll on me. It feels like my motivation and drive to live was taken away with the most valuable piece of me, my babies. My babies are and always will be in my heart. I don't understand how one moment your house is stable shelter for your family, and the next it is the vessel to change your life forever. Bye, Mom. I look back on the days immediately after I lost my son, and there are certain things that I can remember, and then there's a lot of things that are a complete and utter blur. And for people to continue to say that Galen is responsible for the death of her children absolutely infuriates me and breaks my heart, because no one on this planet wants to feel that kind of pain and try to dig yourself out from it. And she is having trouble 6 years later, she's not in a good place. And you can understand why. She had to flee Flora. She couldn't stay there. How could she stay there? How could you look at that house every day? And by the way, the house is still standing, and not because ISP wants it to. The Indiana State Police said that house can be torn down. They have no reason for that house to be standing anymore. They don't need it. Do you know that the girls' toys are still on that dilapidated front porch? So every time somebody walks by, they see it. I know why she's not there. I completely understand why she had to flee to where family was able to surround her with loving arms and care and love on her. Because it's the exact same thing that I had to do. I had to leave Colorado and I had to come back to Illinois because I needed my friends and my family. And I'm sorry, you guys. But it breaks my heart. So, you know, John, I've often wondered that too. I've often wondered that myself about whether or not the house is standing as a warning. But when you go to Flora, you see this burnt out, boarded up building with the porch practically falling off the house. The railings are all falling apart. It just continues to get more and more dilapidated as time goes on. As you can imagine, the inside of it was completely burned out as a shell. And so there you have that. And you have a community who did raise money. They raised $20,000 for the girls. And that was wonderful of them to do. And now you have the community committee trying to give it back to the fire department because legalese says they have to. I don't care what legalese says. Where is your moral compass? Where are these people's moral compass? How do you do that? What do you think the optics of that looks like? Do you guys honestly think that would ever happen in Delphi, Indiana's murders? That somebody would take that money and do something else with it 6 years after Abby and Libby's murder hasn't been solved? Do you really think that that would happen? So you look at this town that's broken and you think about what these people must think about every day because it's right on Main Street. The house sits on the corner of Main Street in Columbia. You can't help but see it as you drive past every single day. And for people who are new, oh, wonder what happened there. That looks horrific. Little do they know that 4 little angels lost their lives in that home. And then you fast forward to February of 2017. 9 miles down the road from Flora sits Delphi, Indiana. Same county, Carroll County. Same sheriff. Same deputies. A lot of the same volunteer firefighters. And 2 girls go missing on a bridge, on a trail. 200 people show up, 300 people show up to look for them. Maybe more. Everybody is talking about it. It's everywhere. It's all over the news. It was on the news here at home, 2.5 hours away. I never heard a news report on Flora, ever. Abby and Libby were all over the news. They were also on social media. It popped up on my Facebook. I was at work. I will never forget it. It's how it caught me. Their story just caught me, and I can't explain it. It just did. And I was instantly taken by it, and it became this thing. I wanted these girls to be found. And little did I know, but 24 hours later, not only were they found, but they were found brutally murdered. And so immediately after this all happens, within a month or so, after Becky and Mike and Anna are able to at least try to breathe, because trust me, I know that they weren't. It's the same. They're in the same limbo of emotion. You feel like your heart's been ripped from your body. And Mike announces at a press conference that they want to build a ball field in memory of the girls. And it's something that they feel very strongly about in their memory. I do believe that it's something that Abby and Libby are proud of. I think that the girls can look down from heaven and know that other children will get to experience the same love of sports that they did in those fields and on the trail there and the playground. And the amphitheater will bring people together to listen to music, which they love so very much. But it's the difference between the two cases that just resonate with me. It's not the fact that they built a ball field. It's the fact that Mike Patty reached out to the governor of Indiana and said, help me. I need land. I need to find land where I can build this ball field. Help me. And Mike said, I think I found a parcel that would work. And it's left over from the Hoosier Heartland Highway. It's just sitting there, but the state owns it. And the Indiana governor was like, Mike, give me a minute. Give me a minute. We will get on this. And within minutes, not hours, but within minutes, Mike Patty was getting phone calls from people in power in Indiana that was going to help him get that land, because they ended up selling it to the county, and then the county ended up gifting it to the memorial park. And I just wonder how much the governor has thought about those 4 little girls in Florida that died 2 months before, 3 months before, 2.5 months before. Those are questions that I would ask him if he was in front of me. What have you done for Flora? You were so quick to help the Delphi girls and do all these things. And, here we have a single mother who's trying to get her life together. And she didn't have the advocacy, perhaps, that the girls in Delphi have. But that's no fault of her own. Why couldn't someone speak up for her and go to them for her? And it's like, I'm glad that Mike did what he did, because he had the wherewithal to say, hey, I need to get this done for my girls, and I want to make sure that this happens. And being who Mike is and the type of person he is, because he's very outspoken, he didn't have a problem doing that. But Galen didn't have that. And it's the contrast. It's exactly right, Frank. Or I'm sorry, John. It's the stark contrast of the two cases that I'm trying to show you. It's just unbelievable to me. They started a reward fund for the Delphi girls, and I think they had if you watch one of the videos, hey Unsolved, thank you so much for your super sticker. I so appreciate you. Thank you so very much. If you watch the two videos that I told you about, you'll see this because it's explained in there. But they actually explain the breakdown of the Delphi Reward Fund. And I want to say some Indiana Packers gave $10,000, I think. Somebody else gave 30 or 40,000, and I can't remember who it was. But anyway, the bulk of the girls in Delphi's reward came from the Indianapolis Colts. The kicker, I think it's McAfee. I think that's his name. He's not a kicker there anymore, obviously. But he gave $125,000. And then Jim Irsay, the owner of Indianapolis Colts, came in and gave $100,000. So that's where the bulk of the girls' reward. So let's be clear. I just want everybody to know that $325,000 didn't come from the community of Delphi. These communities are not big. We're talking 3,000 people, or just under 3,000 in Delphi, and only 2,000 in Flora. So, I mean, I get that, businesses can donate, but they don't have a lot of huge businesses in this area. And I think, again, part of the problem goes back to how the media covered the two cases. The media covered the first case, the Flora fire case, and they talked about the fact that it was an accidental fire. Then they came back and said, nope, now we think it's arson. Nope, it's not. It's accidental. Whoops, we're sorry. And then a month and a half later, it comes out in January. We were absolutely wrong. It is definitely arson. I don't even think they used the word arson. Maybe they did. I wish Meow was in here in November, but I know they said suspicious, but I also think arson was used. Do you know, Unsolved, if that was true? Because I know you're in here. Because I don't want to misspeak, but I honestly believe that that's what happened. So the media can really make or change the face of a case by how they report it and how the public reads that and sees it. And they started believing the fact that Galen was suspicious and her family was suspicious because, after all, they may not have lived the lifestyle that they approve of, or maybe they, we all know that Galen's dad spent time in jail, so maybe they were looking at that as, well, obviously he's a bad guy, right? This is a grandfather who loved those girls, and if you haven't. Unsolved, I was looking to see, did investigators say in November that it was arson? They said it was accidental, then they said it was arson, and then it was changed again, and then it wasn't ruled arson until January. Is that how I'm understanding the timeline? That was my question. So, I just think that it's time that all of the BS around Flora stop, and that media starts covering it the way they should and giving it the same respect of a story that Delphi gets, because they deserve it. And I agree, SD. You're right. The Patties and the Williams, from what I understand, have issues in their pasts. There's family members that have issues. So I'm not one to speak on that, because all I'm saying is that, don't go throwing people under the bus because of their past. That's I don't think that's what we're here to do, And like I said, Galen was working 2 jobs, and she was trying desperately to raise those girls the best that she possibly could. And yeah, Melodramatic Monday, I think you're right. I also think they called it suspicious. They said suspicious as well. I don't think they used the word arson. I'm not positive on that. And I know Meow knows, because I know she knows it like the back of her hand. But I'm giving her a pass tonight because she's been working so hard. She needs a night to just chill out and not think about things. Okay, thank you, Unsolved, very much. So, that's all I really wanted to talk about, you guys, tonight, and the difference in the optics of the 2 cases, and that stark contrast between them, and the fact that they're 9 miles apart. And you want to say, what in the world is going on, and why is that? Hey, Ray. Oh, they're doing just fine. They're both doing really, really well. So yeah, I just wanted to share all that with you guys, and I want to get my hold on a second. I got to pull up my giveaway, my StreamYard giveaway tool, so that we can have our giveaway, our nightly giveaway. And like I said, this isn't, I'm not trying to bash the investigations. I am in no way trying to say that that Abby and Libby's case is not getting enough. Hey, Bridget, can you stick around for the giveaway? You want to type in hashtag hope in the comments section. You're very welcome, SD. It was hard to get through. Thank you. I've read it many times, but it makes me cry. Yeah, Digital, that would be a great idea. I could definitely do that. The only problem with that is trying to show that in its entirety, and I can get dinged for copyright by doing that. So I have to be careful about showing those kinds of things. But we can definitely chat about it. I definitely think that whoever is elected sheriff is going to be a huge deal for the county and also for these cases. More specifically, Delphi than Flora, since Flora is not being investigated by Carroll County, which I think is interesting, since we know that they are housed in the same building. So anyway, yeah, Jack, I know. Other cases seem to be easier and more clear. And like I said, I'll just keep saying it over and over again. I'll go back to Kristen Smart every day. Nearly 26 years. She went missing. Her body still has not been found. And now the people responsible are on trial for her murder. So that they believe is responsible. Because of course, everyone is innocent until proven guilty in our justice system. So I would just really like to see things change. And I do believe that there's stuff going on underneath that we don't see. And even though things have gone really quiet in the last 4 months regarding Delphi, I just think that there's a lot that we are not privy to. And so be it. I don't need to know everything. And I also want to put out there, I don't need to be right on who it is that did these horrible, horrible crimes. I don't. I just want justice for all 6 of these victims. I don't have to be right. I would stand up and say I was wrong tomorrow if it meant that Bridge Guy was found or if the arsonist was found. So, is everybody entered that wants to enter? So to enter the doors drawing tonight, we're going to type #hope. And I did that for a reason, because I just feel we should never lose hope. When we lose hope, we don't have anything. And I would never take hope away from these families. That is never something that I would want to do for any victim's family. I would never come out and say, well, this is never going to be solved, or I would never do that. Because first of all, I'm not a negative person. Never have been. I try to be positive, even in the worst of situations. And it's not always easy. But I just really, really, really want these cases to be solved, you guys. All right, so I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute if anybody wants to join into the drawing. This is for an Abby and Libby bracelet. And you will need to email me with your personal information so that I can mail it to you. Everything that you share with me in email is private and would never, ever be shared with anyone. So please make sure that you understand that. Yes, Matt, you are correct. You are correct. I believe you wholeheartedly. Most definitely. Yep. And Savannah's right. Our GoFundMe that Meows the Dong has set up has $300 in it. And I'm so thankful for the 300. I really, truly am. But this kind of says it all. Because even on the bench, it's got all 6 girls' names on it. So, I mean, it's not just theirs. But at least they did something. So, at least they did something to remember them. So, all right, guys, here we go. We're going to draw. And I will share my screen with you when it's done. Cool. Congratulations, Savannah. Congratulations. I love doing those. I really, really do. It's so fun. So, it's always, always fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. I hope that it was a good conversation for everyone. That's always my goal. And I get that sometimes it seems like, these cases just never move very much, but it's interesting to discuss some of the stuff that's going on and some of the stuff that other creators are doing, because there are some really good creators out there. And oh, Pam, thank you. I love it too. It was so fun to get it to get it started. It took me a while to do it and figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it and stuff. And once I got my logo down, because I really messed around with logo for a while, once I found the one that I loved, I was like, I'm on this. So and like I said, I can't say enough about my cup. I love my cup. It is like my favorite thing right now. I love it. And it really makes me drink water, which is a good thing. So, but anyway, you guys, I'm going to say goodnight to you, and I will see you all on Thursday. I hope you have a great hump day. Thank you so much for coming. Please like and share any of my content, and make sure that you subscribe so that you know when I'm going live. And also, please join if you're able. Become a member of the doors, because once I think I have like a few, maybe 2 more members I need, and I hit 25 members, I'm going to do my first members only content. So I've just kind of been waiting for my membership to get up there before I did something special for you guys. But I am going to start doing special members only content. So, yeah, just if it's something that you guys want to do, please join. And if you guys want, I also want to say, I don't think she's here tonight, but there's somebody out there that just loves buying me teas, and you guys can buy me a tea if that's the way you'd like to support me. But I've had somebody buy me quite a few of those, and I really like it. So you can always go to buymeacoffee.com, and I think I don't know what the prompt for that is, but I'll put it in here so you guys know what it is. Hold on a second. But you can also buy me a tea at buymeacoffee.com to support the channel if you would like to do so. I love the support of having you all here. And anyway, there you go. So good night, everybody. Have a good evening.